On today's installment, I kind of wanted to talk about introversion and just kind of overcoming it. I think that there is a lot of introversion and insecurity and shyness and social insecurity within my generation and like Gen Z that I think a lot of people are sort of afraid of stepping out of the comfort zones. We've kind of created this world with, our smartphones and the internet where it's just easy to stay in our own little bubble. And I mean, look what that breeds. It breeds depression. It breeds social isolation. It breeds this introversion wave that we're seeing nowadays. And I mean, I was right in the thick of that. Now, there's many reasons, which I will get into, why I ended up right into that trap, but I've got out of it. And I want to share my story so that hopefully other people can take notice of it, and who are looking to be more extroverted can learn from my mistakes and my story and hopefully apply that to their own life. So let's get into the video. When I was a kid in elementary school, I was very outgoing. I had no shortage of friends in school. Even though I only really had one or two friends that I kind of hung out with outside of school, I had no shortage of people that I chatted with and talked with in school. A lot to the point where my teachers would constantly tell my parents what a motor mouth I was, and which, thank you, Mother, I got that from her. In 2002, my parents decided to move my brother and I into the suburbs. And being 8 years old in the third grade, I mean, it was a complete cultural shift, to be honest, to go from inner city schools into suburbs, or into the suburban schooling system. One, I mean, I was just completely lost because the curriculums were completely different. And two, I mean, just the kids in general were just totally different. If you could believe it, the inner city children were actually a lot nicer and a lot more accepting, if you will. And granted, I mean, I definitely didn't do myself any favors, because of how different the kids were and just the way they interacted with each other. I mean, it was completely different than what I was used to. And because of that, I mean, I got labeled as the weird kid, or, the kid that no one really wanted to make friends with pretty quickly. I mean, I went from being a motor mouth and constantly getting in trouble for talking too much to that literally never being a problem again. And now, a side note, I would actually say that looking back on it now, I'm actually kind of happy that things worked out this way. One, because of that, the friends that I did make were very real and genuine friends. As you can imagine, I made friends with a lot of the new kids because they had no preconceived notions of me. And secondly, I'm kind of happy that it worked out that way because I feel like because I was bullied and ostracized, it kind of forced me to learn how to stick up for myself and learn kind of the difference between people that I do and don't want in my life. But I digress. Going forward, in the ninth grade, I had started experimenting with weed, a little bit of the grass, the tokings. And once kind of people started finding out about that, I mean, there were kids that were making fun of me at the start of my ninth grade, and by the end of it, were shooting the shit with me and being chatty and friendly with me. As beneficial as this was to ending my strife in that regard, the fact that I started smoking actually ended up furthering the introversion in me. So in about 11th grade, as I talked about in my last video, was once I had started smoking every day. And to anyone that's watching this that has smoked weed or done it every single day, all day, you'll know that it kind of has a way of turning you into a bit of a zombie, and kind of just checking out. And that's kind of a lot of what happened. And that was a big reason why I ended up quitting, because it made me socially awkward, and I just didn't want to be that. I don't want to be checked out of every situation because I'm just too high to form a functional conversation with people. It took me longer than I care to admit to kind of realize that and solidify that, but nonetheless. I would say between smoking weed every day and once high school ended, that really solidified in my mind at the time that was who I was. I was an introvert, and there was no changing that. So once high school ended, I had gotten a girlfriend that was one of the weird kids, one an introvert in of herself. And because of that, that just solidified that even more, because it was like, oh, well, I have a girlfriend, she's an introvert, I'm an introvert. It was something that we bonded on. Like our social isolation was something that we both kind of bonded together on. So, I mean, it was just self-indulgent at that point. But on top of that, just high school in general ending kind of solidified that as well, just because, I mean, I was forced into these social situations when I was in high school. Now that I wasn't, and all I had to do was work and go home to my girlfriend, who didn't care for social situations, it was definitely very isolating and very self-indulgent into that lifestyle. And as I kind of stated, it just very much solidified that, this is just who I am. And like at the time, I was happy to be that. But once that relationship had ended was when things had kind of started to change. So once her and I broke up, I mean, I met her through school. So, I mean, I quickly kind of realized, like, well, where am I going to meet another girl? If I'm this closed off introverted person, I'm never going to meet somebody. I kind of have to, I quickly and early on realized, and even though we live in the world of social media and Tinder and all that, I mean, I didn't have social skills. I couldn't talk to a girl and give her my best to, oh yeah, go mama. Like, I don't know who that works on. So as I said, I very quickly learned that I was going to have to step out of my comfort zone if I ever hoped to find love ever. And I mean, that was exactly what I did. I mean, that year that me and my ex broke up, I mean, I very much made that my year. I made it very all about just going out and doing new stuff and going out of that comfort zone. I mean, I started my business that year. And it was very much just about putting myself out there and just being something that I wasn't. For the first time in my life, I was really like, in my opinion, starting to live. And that's a good segue actually into the final point that I want to make. And the number one thing that I'll say that pushed me out of my introversion and really solidified me into the person that I am today was starting my business. I would honestly say in the last 2 years that I've been doing my business full time, I have grown as a person like immensely, like more than I would say that I had in the last 24 years that preceded it. And I think a big reason of that was, I mean, once I had gotten let go from my job, I mean, it was a very I have to make this happen. I have rent to pay. If this doesn't work, what am I going to do? When I had started the business too, I mean, there was a lot of times where I had clients and people and jobs that would come to me, and I would deliberately turn them down or ignore them just because it was a different kind of client that I wasn't used to working with, or that doing the job would have been out of my comfort zone. It would have been something uncomfortable for me to do. And I was still just very rooted in the same old habits that I just hadn't overcome. But once I had lost my job and it was very do or die, I need to make this happen. I mean, if someone was coming to me that I ordinarily would have been uncomfortable to work with before, I was taking that job and I was doing it because, well, I don't care how uncomfortable I am or this job's going to make me. I need the money. And boom, jump cut. Whoa, didn't see that coming, did you? Neither did I. So my original take, or my original conclusion on this video was kind of dog dookie, so I decided while I was getting into the edit that while my thoughts are fresh, I should give a better resolution to the video. So really, all of that said, my biggest advice from this is if you really want to push yourself out of your comfort zone and really become a more confident and extroverted person, my advice would be to find something with real stakes in it. Finding something that allows you to say, allowing you to say and to accept, I'm going to be uncomfortable in this. It's going to suck. But if I don't do it, then X. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is confidence comes from doing. If there's something that you want to be confident at doing, whether it's picking up girls or going to a party and striking up conversations with people, whatever it may be, if it seems uncomfortable and out of reach to you now, it's because you're not doing it. So if you want to become confident at doing it, you have to go out and do it. and you're gonna have to fall on your face. You're gonna have to get laughed at or rejected or whatever it may be. That just comes with the territory. I certainly wish someone told me these things 5 years ago. Whether I would have applied them to my life or not, that's another story. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this installment of my videos, and I will see you next time.